Welcome to Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson, and in this episode we're going to look at a little talk that I did recently at a fantastic event, Colour World. Colour World is an amazing colour-only hair event here in the UK, and I just wanted to give you a little insight into the things that I get up to other than making tutorials for you on my channel. If you enjoy this type of video, let me know in the comments. As I say, I always love speaking to you guys, and the dialogue that I have with some of you now is really great. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about any of my tutorial videos or any other questions that you may want to ask me. Also, remember, if you enjoy this, then share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you again for another episode of The Life of Hair very, very soon. Great. Hello guys, I'm James Atkinson, aka The Life of Hair. I am a hairdresser down in Brighton. I also teach for Redkin, and I also work for Least Stafford Education, and I run my own education courses under the name The Life of Hair, personal coaches in your salons. One of the stories about balayaging, and hold your hands up if you love balayaging first. Show me a show of hands. Good, some of you love it, some of you don't, which is great. But one of the things we've probably all experienced by a show of hands, we do an amazing balayage and then we don't see our client again for a year. Yeah, show of hands, who's had that? Just about everybody that does a balayage. And that's an amazing thing for some clients, but it's not an amazing thing for your business. So one of the things I'm just going to demo to you today and talk to you about whilst I demo. So this is the technique that I'm going to demo today. This is me doing it for my YouTube channel that is not currently up yet. But I like to take my clients on a journey. I always do colours with a consultation first. I never colour anybody's hair ad hoc. Just turn up, sit in my chair and start colouring their hair. Now, one of the things I will say about one of the issues that we all face as colourists in the salon is that we're having balayages and we're trying to take them from 0 to 100 in one visit. This ideology is just killing businesses because we're taking them from dark brown level 6 hair to a beautiful balayage result in one hit, or we're trying to do a colour correction balayage. And these services aren't that great at repeat business. So one of the things that I advocate, guys, is talk to your clients as if it's a journey. Say to them, okay, today we're going to get you, 1 shade, 2 shades, 3 shades lighter. And if they don't necessarily agree with that journey because that is not what they want to achieve, then they might not necessarily be your client. And I know that sounds a little bit draconian, but at the same time, it's really, really important that we start to understand balayage isn't brilliant for business. So we need to start utilizing techniques. Now, this technique I'm using here, I like to think of it as the Swiss Army knife of techniques. On the mannequin head that I've got down there that I'll show you in just a moment, which is the one I'm doing here, I talk in the video about using it like a colour corrective tool. I simply just got that mannequin head, poured a bowl of colour on the head and tried to create patchiness throughout it. And you'll see on this mannequin head now, I've corrected a lot of that patchiness just using this technique, using my hands to blend away any bands or lines in the hair and creating a very nice multi-tonal finish to boot. This technique has 2-inch sections throughout, and that is really, really important for this technique. One of the main reasons is that the depth of the section that you take, because you're digging into the hair to remove quite a substantial amount of hair throughout. So when this falls back down into the hair, it sinks into the hair really seamlessly. And I'm finding with this technique that I'm using it more and more and more as time goes on because it is so versatile. If this was a client and not a mannequin head and she had this natural level 7 hair, I could utilize this technique to create beautiful, subtle, multi-tonal, natural balayage technique and give myself a really easy platform, and you can get super lightness like this, an easy platform to take them somewhere else another time. I can say, next time we could do more colour in the ends, or if we wanted to have more colour in the ends, then we could certainly leave this technique open to doing the underneath section lower and these top sections higher to create ribbons of blonde in the hair and quite a solid feel through the bottom. Now the joy of this technique, and one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it to you today, is because it's incredibly fast. And in the salon, who's finding that balayages can take hours and hours and hours, especially, there we go, if we're including foils into our techniques, it can become a really, really long-winded technique. The joy of having an express technique in your bag is that those times where someone comes in, you've got a client that's a little bit unsure about introducing new colours to their hair. You can do this technique with slightly larger sections, lift it up a couple of levels and just give them a shimmer, which is very similar to what we end up with from my YouTube video there. So it gives you that opportunity to introduce not only to clients with no colour in their hair, really bright blonde pieces, clients that have got a lot of colour in their hair, some multi-tonal dimension, and sometimes I even do this half head technique and I just throw it on if I've got 15 minutes spare to introduce something new to an existing client. I will do it almost complimentary because I'll just say to themselves, I've got 15 minutes to spare, this client's been loyal to me, or this client I've been doing a root tint for a very, very long time, and I will just throw it on and give them something for the summer just because they've been good to me. So I believe in rewarding your existing clients, and so this technique, having these express techniques in the bag, is super important to the way that I colour hair. And I feel that one of the main issues with balayage, and lots of people, I see lots of Facebook forums or Facebook groups where people are talking about they can't wait for balayage to die off. Show of hands, who believes that balayage isn't going to die off? Yeah, so it's just a technique now. It's something that we all need to know how to do and do well. It's not going to just suddenly disappear. It's part of our repertoire. So we've really got to be aware that these things need modifying, because we can't keep every client in the salon 4 or 5 hours because we've done some back comb balayage. That has its place, of course, and in certain circumstances where we want tons and tons of lift, then that is what we need to do. But at the same time, we can't spend the next 10 years thinking to ourselves, I can't wait for balayage to disappear, like I've seen on Facebook. I can't wait for balayage to disappear, and it never go anywhere, and we're then sort of really, really behind the curve. That's how people get out of trying to pick my words carefully because I don't want to sound, like stuck in a rut. People get stuck in a rut with techniques because they just pass them by. They didn't see it coming. They didn't get on board when it started. And then all of a sudden it's a daily occurrence and they're thinking to themselves, I'm so far behind with this, I'm not interested, forget it. And all of a sudden they're struggling and they're going on a course and you become disillusioned by the industry, and that's how we lose people. And I think, I'm a massive advocate of this industry. I'm a hairdressing nerd, and I spend so much time practicing new techniques, to deliver them to people like you today, that I can give you hopefully a little insight into something that's a bit new, a bit different, and that you can take into your salons tomorrow, the next day, give it a whirl, get your mannequin head out, get your tripod out, and give these techniques a little go, and then try and work out where they fit in your day, rather than giving you a look, a very specific way of colouring hair, and you desperately waiting for that, Joanne to turn up, and she never arrives, giving you a technique that you can say, actually, let's just give this one a whirl on, a good friend, a colleague, do it on a mannequin head beforehand, and then taking it to the shop floor, feeling competent and confident. So with this technique, remember, it's just 2-inch sections all the way up. And I can decide how high or low I want my saturation. So this works a bit like the way you put butter on. You get a knife, butter, it hits the bread, it goes from thick to thin. That's the exact same analogy that I'd use for this. We've got thick saturation halfway up the hair in this instance, and then I'm spreading that saturation up the head to thin it out. So what I will get when this processes, and you'll see it in a minute just here, is that this hair here will lighten a small amount, and this hair through here will lighten much more substantially. And that way, I'm not having to do multiple toners at the backwash, to blend this colour away, I can just do one toner that focuses on how much I want to drop this by. So my goal, if you like, I don't ever really have to worry about this area in terms of toning, because it will only lift one level or two levels dependent on the thickness of the saturation, and then where the full saturation is on the hair, I'm getting maximum lift. So it's a really simple, straightforward technique that I am using day in, day out, and I hope that you've just taken one little thing from this today. Anything would make my day. And I will show you the finished result from the video, and you can see in this light, not very well actually, but we created, great question. So the developer's dependent on my end result. I usually use a low developer just for the condition, because I tend to repeat this service over and over again on the same pattern, on the same client, and I tend to use a clay lightener and a bonder, so I can ensure that I can repeat this service. If they come in and they start like this, like a colour correction, I can go over this again, and I will be going over this again for that video, just to show people, thank you for your question by the way, just so that I can show people that you can take this on a journey from A to B using the same technique. You almost pick up the same pieces because you've got those 2-inch sections. And in this hair, all I did was, once I'd lifted it, I put one level 8 toner on there all the way, root to tip, and I just brought it down, because obviously I started with a very deep, well, this was a base 4, and my blend is very, very seamless because of the backhanding technique, and changing that saturation from thick to thin is ultra important in this particular technique. But you can go over it and over it until you get the desired result, and take that client on that journey. Rather than coming in once, you're doing some wonderful balayage, but it's killing your business. I've been James Atkinson, aka The Life of Hair. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. See you later.